The diner floated in the middle of deep space, glowing softly under cold starlight. It was the kind of place where travelers from 100 worlds stop to eat, talk, and disappear. The neon sign outside flickered like a dying star. Inside, the air smelled of strong coffee and oil. The night was quiet except for the low hum of engines. A few alien merchants sat in booths whispering in strange languages. Nobody paid attention to the small figure sitting alone in the corner. She was a dragon girl, barely more than a teenager. Her silver scales shimmered under the dull lights. Her golden eyes stayed down as she held a small cup between trembling hands. She tried to look invisible, but she couldn't hide what she was. Wings folded close to her body, her tail curled around the chair leg. She didn't belong here, and everyone knew it. A group of reptilian aliens noticed her from across the room. They were bigger, louder, and crueler. Their leader smirked, tapping his claw on the table. "Look what we've got here," he said. His voice echoed through the diner. The other aliens turned their heads but quickly looked away. No one wanted trouble, not with this crew. They were known bullies. They belonged to a powerful clan that controlled half the trade route. The dragon girl stiffened. Her claws gripped the cup tighter. She whispered to herself, "Don't look up. Don't say a word." The leader of the bullies stood up slowly. His heavy boots thudded against the floor as he walked toward her. His crew followed, laughing under their breath. "Little hatchling, all alone," he said, bending low to look into her eyes. "Where's your nest, little bird?" His breath smelled like smoke and iron. She tried to pull back, but one of the bullies grabbed her chair and turned it toward them. The cup fell from her hands, shattering on the floor. Hot liquid spread across the metal. "Oops," the alien said with a wide grin. "Look at that. Now it's a mess." The whole diner was silent. The staff behind the counter stared but didn't move. Everyone knew better than to interfere. The leader grabbed the dragon girl's horn gently at first, then twisted. She gasped in pain. "Please stop," she whispered. Her voice was small but clear. The alien laughed. "Oh, she talks," he mocked. A waitress quietly stepped back into the kitchen, pretending not to see anything. Two truckers near the entrance lowered their heads. Nobody wanted to get involved. That was how it always went on this side of the galaxy. The dragon girl clenched her jaw. She had run from her home world to find safety, not more monsters. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears like drums. The leader leaned closer. "You don't belong here," he whispered. "And we're going to make sure everyone knows it." A cold wind moved through the diner, but no door had opened. The lights flickered for a second. The bullies didn't notice, but she did. She felt it, a change in the air. Something silent and watching. Her golden eyes flicked toward the window, but all she saw was the endless black of space. The leader shoved her chair backward, and she fell hard. Pain shot through her shoulder. The sound of laughter filled the room. It was loud, cruel, and sharp like broken glass. "Stop," she said again, louder this time. But they didn't stop. One of them kicked the broken cup pieces toward her face. "Look at the little lizard cry," he sneered. She tried to stand, but her wing brushed the edge of a table. A sharp pain made her stumble again. Someone else laughed. One alien lifted his drink and toasted like it was a game. From above the diner, a human ship floated silently. It wasn't broadcasting lights, no signals, no sound. A sensor deep inside the dragon girl's jacket had sent out a soft pulse the moment she whispered for help. She didn't even know it, but someone had heard. Inside the human ship, a man leaned forward, his dark eyes fixed on the screen. "Mark the location," he said. His voice was calm, too calm. A young officer beside him whispered, "Do we move?" "Not yet," the captain replied. "Let them show what they are." Back in the diner, the bullies were getting louder. One of them knocked over her plate. Another stepped on her tail. Her breath came in fast, short bursts. Her claws scratched the metal floor. "I said stop!" she shouted this time, and everyone froze for a heartbeat. The leader crouched down, face inches from hers. "What are you going to do about it?" He whispered. Something shifted outside the window. A shadow passed slowly over the diner's glowing sign. A deep hum rolled through the metal walls. Nobody heard it except the dragon girl. Her pupils narrowed, and a spark of hope lit in her chest. The leader noticed the change in her expression and frowned. "What are you smiling at?" he asked sharply. "I'm not alone," she whispered. Her voice trembled, but there was strength behind it. The bullies laughed again, louder this time. "Who's going to save you?" One of them barked. "You think anyone cares about a broken-winged lizard?" They roared with laughter, knocking chairs and tables aside. The staff backed farther into the kitchen. Afraid of what would happen next, the leader grabbed her chin roughly. "No one is coming," he hissed, but far above, the human captain was already standing from his chair. "Prep the team," he said. "We go in silent." Lights dimmed, the warship turned, and its black hull blended into the void. They didn't use alarms, they didn't warn. Humanity didn't do warnings when one of their own was hurt. The dragon girl felt something warm in her chest, not fear this time, but something else. The leader didn't understand the look in her eyes. His laughter slowly faded. His instincts told him something was wrong, very wrong. The diner's light flickered again. This time everyone felt it. The hum outside grew louder. Like a storm about to break, the leader turned toward the window. His smile faltered in the reflection of the glass. He saw something move. Something big, something human. The girl's breathing slowed. Her tears dried on her cheeks, she whispered to herself. "They're here." And for the first time, the bullies didn't laugh. The air grew heavy, the quiet before the storm had arrived. Above the diner, the Terran ship floated closer. Silent as a blade, the clock on the wall ticked louder. The bullies stared at the window but saw nothing. They didn't know what was coming for them, but she did. She knew what the name humanity meant out here, and as the hum grew stronger, she closed her eyes, knowing help had finally arrived. The laughter of the bullies echoed through the diner like broken glass. Sharp and cruel, the dragon girl tried to push herself up from the floor, her tail trembling, her wings bent awkwardly beneath her. Her golden eyes burned with pain, and something else, quiet defiance. The leader crouched down, his wide grin stretching across his face. "What's the matter, little lizard?" he said softly. "Did you really think anyone here would help you?" His crew stood behind him, towering shadows blocking the light. One of them kicked her broken plate across the floor, sending shards scattering. Another leaned on the counter, looking at the waitress who refused to meet his eyes. Everyone in the room had gone silent, pretending to eat, pretending not to hear. The air inside the diner grew heavy. The dragon girl's claws pressed against the floor. Her breath uneven, she whispered under her breath. "I'm not alone," the leader tilted his head. "What was that?" he asked sharply, his voice cut through the quiet like a blade. The girl stayed silent, clutching her tail close to her body. The leader laughed again, but this time it was nervous. Something in her voice had unsettled him. "She's cracked," one of his crew said. "Probably scared out of her mind," another answered with a sneer. "Good. Maybe she'll make a sound we can remember." They all laughed. But the sound was forced now, hollow around the edges. Outside the window, space looked calm, but something moved out there. A ripple of darkness against the stars, unseen by most but felt by her. The hum returned, deeper this time. Rolling through the diner's floor like distant thunder, one of the crew glanced at the window, frowning. "Did you hear that?" he muttered. The leader waved him off. "You're jumping at shadows," he said, trying to sound in control, but the hum grew stronger. The dragon girl slowly lifted her head, her golden eyes locking onto the leader. For a second he froze. There was no fear in her eyes anymore, only a quiet certainty. That look cut through his arrogance like a knife. His smirk faltered. "Why are you looking at me like that?" he demanded. But she didn't answer. She didn't need to. The door at the far end of the diner hissed softly as the pressure seals shifted. Nobody saw it open, but the sound made everyone turn their heads. A cold breeze moved through the diner. The waitress dropped a glass that shattered against the floor. One of the crew stepped back. "Hey, boss," he whispered. "Someone's here." The leader straightened, scanning the empty doorway. "No one's there," he growled. Trying to convince himself, he turned back toward the girl. But she was staring past him now. Her breathing slowed, calm in a way that made no sense. The hum outside turned into a low rumble. A single drop of water from the diner's leaking pipe fell and splashed loudly. The leader's grip on control began to crack. "All right," he barked. Enough of this game. He grabbed the girl by the arm and lifted her off the floor. No one's coming for you, he hissed into her ear. His claws dug into her scales. She clenched her jaw to stop a cry. Then the lights flickered once, twice, and then the room went still. All the background noise, the chatter, the hum of the kitchen, the soft music, stopped. It was the kind of silence that made everyone hold their breath. The leader let go of her and turned toward the door again. "Show yourself," he shouted. His voice cracked slightly. His crew spread out, their laughter gone, replaced with tight jaws and tense shoulders. The dragon girl felt it before anyone else did. The air shifted, thick with something heavy, familiar. A scent like clean steel and storm wind filled the room. One of the bullies raised his weapon slowly. The door made a faint sound, like a heartbeat in the dark, and then a figure stepped in. A man tall and calm, wearing a dark Terran flight jacket. His boots echoed against the metal floor with each step. He didn't rush. He didn't need to. Every eye in the diner followed him as he walked in. Not saying a word, he didn't carry any weapon in sight, but he didn't have to. His cold blue eyes scanned the room like he already owned it. The bullies stiffened, sensing something they didn't understand. The leader took a step forward, trying to sound strong. "You lost, human?" he barked. The man didn't answer. He just kept walking until he stood between the bullies and the dragon girl. His voice came out quiet, almost calm. "Get your hands off her," the leader laughed. "Too loud, too forced, or what?" he mocked. One of his crew moved closer. "You're outnumbered, Terran," he spat. But the man didn't even blink. His calmness was worse than a threat. It crawled under their skin like ice. The dragon girl clutched the corner of the table. Watching every movement, the leader took another step, his claws ready. "I said you—" Before he could finish, the human moved. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was clean, fast, and final. One moment the leader stood tall. The next, he was flat on the floor, gasping for air. The man's hand had struck him once. Precise and silent, the whole diner froze. One of the crew reached for his blade, but something sharp clicked behind him. From the shadows near the door, two more humans stepped inside. Their weapons were drawn but pointed low, calm and controlled. They spread out like they'd done this 1,000 times before. The waitress gasped softly. The crowd whispered, "Terrans!" someone breathed. The bullies glanced at each other, the confidence in their eyes fading fast. The captain didn't look at them. He turned his back on the leader, as if the man on the floor was already irrelevant. He knelt down in front of the dragon girl. "You all right?" he asked quietly. She stared at him, shocked, unable to speak. He reached out a hand, not forcing her but offering. She hesitated, then slowly placed her shaking hand in his. The leader coughed, struggling to get up. "You're making a mistake," he hissed. The captain stood and finally looked at him. One glance was enough to make the room colder. "No," the captain said. "You did." One of the other humans moved forward, resting a heavy boot on the leader's chest. Pinning him down without effort, the crew of bullies began backing away, their earlier laughter long gone. One of them raised his hands slowly. "We didn't mean anything," he stammered. The captain tilted his head slightly. "Then you won't mind leaving," he said softly. The tone wasn't a suggestion, it was an order. The leader glared but didn't speak. His crew grabbed him by the arms and dragged him toward the door. The moment they were gone, the tension broke like a thin thread snapping. The waitress finally breathed again. The truckers at the corner lowered their shoulders. The dragon girl collapsed into the captain's arms. "Exhausted, you came," she whispered. He gave a small nod. "Of course we did, outside." The Terran warship floated silently. The stars reflected off its black hull like shadows. No alarm, no warning, just quiet power inside the diner. Everyone understood something very clearly. You didn't touch what belonged to humanity. Not out here, not anywhere. The hum faded, but its memory stayed. The storm had arrived quietly and left even quieter, but its mark would never be forgotten. The door slammed shut behind the bullies, and for a long moment the diner was wrapped in a thick, heavy silence. No one spoke, no one dared to move. The waitress leaned against the counter, breathing hard, as if she had been holding her breath for hours. The truckers in the corner exchanged uneasy glances. The dragon girl sat on the floor, her hands still trembling. Her golden eyes flicked between the Terran captain and the door. She couldn't believe they had actually come. The captain stood in the center of the diner, calm and solid like a storm that had just passed. He scanned the room with quiet precision, taking in every face, every movement. His crew stood close to the door, watching the hallway outside, ready for anything. They weren't here for a fight, but they were always ready if one came. The dragon girl opened her mouth to speak, but the words stuck in her throat. The captain knelt down, meeting her eyes. "You're safe now," he said quietly. Tears burned behind her eyelids, but she refused to cry. "They were going to hurt me," she whispered. Her voice cracked like fragile glass. He nodded slowly. "I know," he answered. "But they won't touch you again." His voice wasn't loud, but it carried a weight that made the whole room believe it. One of the crew members moved closer, checking her injuries carefully. Her wings were bruised. Her tail scraped, but she was alive. That was what mattered. The hum outside returned, softer this time. The Terran warship hovered above like a silent guardian, invisible to anyone who didn't know where to look. "We need to move," one of the soldiers said. His voice was sharp, trained. "The clan won't like that we just embarrassed their people." The captain straightened, his jaw tight. "I know," he replied. "That's why we don't stay." The dragon girl shook her head quickly, panic flashing in her eyes. "They'll come back," she said. "They always come back." Her claws dug into the edge of the table, as if it was the only thing keeping her from shaking apart. "They have ships. They control the route. They'll find me again." Her voice grew faster, more desperate. The captain placed a steady hand on her shoulder. His touch was firm but gentle. "No," he said. "They'll have to go through us first." The waitress stepped out from behind the counter, wringing her hands nervously. "You shouldn't have helped her," she whispered. "They're going to bring more, they always do." Her voice trembled. She glanced toward the door, as if expecting the bullies to return any second. The captain didn't flinch. He turned to his crew. "Secure the perimeter," he ordered. 2 soldiers slipped out silently, their boots barely making a sound. The dragon girl stared at him, confused. "Why?" she whispered. "Why did you come for me?" He looked at her for a long moment. "Because you called," he said simply. She frowned. "I didn't," she whispered. "I didn't send anything." His lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "You didn't have to," he replied. "You were tagged when you crossed the border. We knew where to find you." Her heart pounded. She hadn't even realized the small tracker embedded in her jacket was real. She had thought it was broken, worthless, but now it was the reason she was alive. "You came all this way," she whispered, "for me." He nodded once. "We don't leave our own behind," he said. His voice was low, steady, and absolute. Outside, the night shifted. The low hum became sharper, a distant sound, a small, fast engine echoed through the void. One of the soldiers returned quickly. "Contacts," he said. "3 ships inbound." The captain's expression didn't change. "Clan response," he muttered. The waitress gasped softly, backing away. The truckers in the corner got up, tossing credits on the table. "We don't want to be here when they arrive," one of them muttered. The captain didn't stop them. He didn't need civilians caught in what was coming. The dragon girl felt a chill run through her body. "They're coming for me," she whispered. "No," the captain corrected. "They're coming for us." His crew moved fast now, calm but efficient. One of them shut the blinds on the diner's windows. Another locked the door. The sound of the lock echoed like a warning. The girl's breathing grew faster. "We can't fight them," she said. "They'll bring soldiers and more ships. You don't know what they'll do." He turned to her, his eyes steady. "Oh," he said softly, "I know exactly what they'll do." His calmness scared her more than the bullies had, because it wasn't arrogance, it was certainty. The kind of certainty that came from people who had done this before. One of the soldiers tapped his comm. "Vanguard 1, this is ground team. Confirm readiness." A voice crackled softly in reply. "Vanguard 1 standing by." The dragon girl gripped the edge of the chair. Watching the crew work, they weren't panicking. They weren't shouting. They moved like a machine, precise and cold. "Who are you?" she asked quietly. The captain looked at her and answered with a single word, "Family." Outside, faint lights appeared in the black sky. 3 red trails cutting through the darkness. The clan ships approached fast, too fast. The captain moved toward the window and pulled the blind just enough to see. 2 raiders, 1 escort, he murmured. They're trying to scare us, one of the soldiers smirked. Bad move. The girl flinched at their confidence. She didn't understand how they could be so calm. The rumble from the Terran warship grew deeper. A shadow moved across the diner, so massive it swallowed the stars. The clan ships didn't know what was waiting above them. Contact in 30 seconds, a soldier said. They're hailing. The captain ignored the hail. He walked back to the dragon girl and crouched down in front of her again. This might get loud, he said softly, but you'll be safe. She shook her head. You can't fight them, she whispered. You don't understand how dangerous they are. He smiled faintly. And they don't understand how dangerous we are. A low boom rolled through the walls. The first clan ship arrived and hovered outside the diner. Its engines glowed blood red. A deep, ugly voice echoed through the external speakers. Give us the girl, the voice said, and we'll let the rest of you live. The waitress covered her mouth. The remaining customers hid behind tables. The captain stood tall, facing the door. Not happening, he said quietly, above. The Terran warship moved like a blade through water. Its cannons locked silently onto the 3 clan ships. The sky outside turned from black to steel grey. A single pulse of light cut across space. One of the raiders spun out of control without firing a shot. The other 2 hesitated, realizing too late who they were facing. The dragon girl clutched her chest, watching the impossible unfold. The people who had hurt her for so long were now the ones afraid. The captain gave the final command. Send the warning. A single flash of light filled the void. The 2 remaining ships broke formation and fled. Inside the diner, the silence returned, softer now. The captain exhaled slowly. They won't be back tonight, he said. She stared at him, her heart pounding. How? She whispered. Because we don't ask twice, he replied. The lights flickered back to normal. The hum faded. The Terran ship hovered above like a guardian. The bullies, who had once made the stars feel like a prison, now scattered like dust. And for the first time in years, the dragon girl didn't feel like prey. She felt safe, truly safe. She looked up at the captain and whispered, Thank you. He gave a small nod. You're one of us now, he said quietly. And in that moment, the stars outside didn't feel cold anymore. They felt like home. The diner felt different now. The air was still, but there was a pressure inside it. Like the quiet after thunder, the lights had stopped flickering, but everyone could still feel the echo of what had just happened. The dragon girl sat at the far end of the room, with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. Her golden eyes were fixed on the window, afraid to blink. The Terran captain stood near the entrance, his arms crossed, watching the darkness outside. His crew moved with silent precision, securing every corner of the building. They knew the clan would not give up that easily. Outside, the last of the smoke from the clan ships hung in the air like dark clouds. One of the soldiers stepped forward, pressing his communicator. Sky's clear for now, he said quietly. But they're not done. The captain didn't look away from the window. I know, he answered. His voice was calm but edged with steel. The waitress brought a cup of water to the dragon girl, hands shaking slightly. I've never seen anyone stand up to them, she whispered. Nobody ever does. The dragon girl didn't respond. Her claws clutched the cup as if it were the only solid thing in the world. She had seen the clan's power her whole life. Nobody dared to cross them. Nobody survived when they did. But now those same bullies had run, and their ships had been torn apart without warning. She still couldn't believe it. The captain finally turned to her, his gaze steady. They'll regroup, he said. They won't accept what happened. Her throat felt dry. They'll come for me, she whispered. The captain nodded once. Yes, he replied. But they won't leave with you. Before she could say anything, one of the soldiers approached quickly. We've got movement, he said. Multiple heat signatures near the outer corridor. The captain's expression didn't change. He tapped the comm on his wrist. Vanguard 1, confirm ground scans. A deep voice came back through static. "Multiple hostiles inbound on foot." The dragon girl's heart started to pound again. Her claws dug into the cup. "They're coming back," she whispered. The captain crouched down in front of her, his voice steady. "Listen to me," he said softly. "I need you to stay calm. We don't run from shadows. We face them." She shook her head. "You don't understand. There's more of them. They'll burn this place to the ground." He gave a small, sharp smile. "Then we'll make sure it's their fire that dies first." The lights dimmed as the outer motion alarms activated. Red warning lights spun across the ceiling. One of the soldiers locked the doors and set up a portable shield generator. The air hummed with a low energy pulse. The Terran crew moved like they'd done this 1,000 times before, each action fast, clean, without a single wasted second. The waitress panicked. "They'll kill us," she whispered, backing away. "You have to get out of here." The captain shook his head. "No one's dying here," he said. "Not tonight." He turned to his team. "Positions." They took cover by the windows, aiming toward the dark corridor outside. The dragon girl's breathing quickened, but a part of her, a very small part, felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safety outside. Shadows moved like water. Dozens of armed figures spread out along the street. The bullies had brought backup, armored fighters with heavy weapons. Their leader walked at the front, his face twisted in anger. His humiliation had burned deep, and he wanted revenge. "Tear the place apart," he growled to his men. "Bring me the girl alive." The first shot hit the diner wall, sending sparks flying. The dragon girl flinched, covering her ears. The soldiers stayed calm. The captain gave a single nod, and the shield generator flared to life. A blue energy dome wrapped the diner. The second and third shots hit harder, but the shield held outside. The clan fighters began to circle like wolves. "Waiting for a weakness. Status?" the captain asked. "Shields at 87%, one soldier replied. "They're testing us." The captain glanced at the girl. "Good," he muttered. "Let them." The leader of the clan stepped forward, shouting through a comm speaker, "This is your last chance. Terrans," his voice roared through the air, "hand over the dragon girl, or we'll turn this place to dust." The captain walked toward the door slowly, opening the shield just enough to let his voice carry. "You've already made one mistake tonight," he said. "I suggest you don't make another." Laughter echoed outside. "Cruel and mocking, you think your little toys can stop us," the leader sneered. "You're surrounded." The captain didn't flinch. "No," he said quietly, "you are." Before the clan leader could respond, the black sky above the diner shifted. The Terran warship revealed itself like a beast crawling out of the shadows. Its massive hull blocked out the stars. Red targeting lights locked onto every clan ship still in orbit. The fighters outside froze as a low, deadly hum rolled through the air. It was a sound every criminal in the galaxy recognized. The waitress gasped softly. "Oh my God," she whispered. The dragon girl stared at the ship through the cracks in the blinds. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears. For the first time, she saw the fear on the bullies' faces, the same fear she had carried for so long. The clan leader tried to mask his panic. "You won't fire," he shouted. "There are civilians here." The captain tilted his head slightly. "We don't miss," he replied coldly. The ground rumbled as the Terran ship slowly descended lower. The clan fighters stepped back, weapons shaking. They had expected a small fight. "Not a warship," the captain pressed his comm. "Vanguard 1, target lock confirmed." A voice came back, calm as a whisper. "Confirmed," the leader roared. "Fall back." But it was too late. The humans didn't fire a single shot. They didn't have to. The clan had already broken. Their fighters ran into the darkness, their ships scattering from orbit. The street outside was empty again within seconds. The only sound left was the soft hum of the Terran warship holding position overhead. The captain turned to his crew. "Stand down," he ordered. The shield generator shut off. The red lights faded. The dragon girl sat frozen, trying to process what she had just seen. The waitress slowly stepped forward, staring at the captain as if seeing something she couldn't quite believe. "You scared them," she whispered. "No one's ever scared them." The captain gave a small nod. "That's the difference," he said quietly. They use fear, we end it. The dragon girl rose slowly. Still clutching the blanket around her. They'll talk, she whispered. The whole sector will hear about this. The captain met her gaze. Good, he said. Let them outside. The Terran warship remained like a silent warning in the sky. Its shadow stretched over the street, over the clan's retreat, over everything. The message was clear now. Humanity didn't make threats. Humanity made examples. The dragon girl took a deep breath. For the first time without fear, her voice was soft but steady. I don't have to run anymore, she whispered. The captain placed a hand on her shoulder. No, he said, you never did. And in the quiet that followed, the galaxy felt a little less cold, and the shadows a little less dark. The street outside the diner was silent now, but it wasn't the kind of silence that meant safety. It was the kind that came right before something bigger happened. The Terran captain stood by the window, eyes locked on the black sky, where the warship hovered like a shadow. His crew checked their gear again, hands moving quickly but quietly. The dragon girl sat near the corner of the room, with the blanket wrapped around her shoulders. She stared at the ground, her claws tracing invisible lines across the floor. She was trying to believe it was over, but deep inside she knew the clan wouldn't let this go. The waitress approached carefully. They won't come back, right? She asked. Her voice trembled. You scared them. They ran. The captain didn't look at her. His eyes stayed on the window. Fear doesn't last, he said. Vengeance does. Those words made the room colder. One of the soldiers stepped forward. Sir, we're picking up transmissions, he said. Encrypted signals. Coming from the north sector. The captain finally turned around. They're regrouping, he said flatly. The dragon girl's hands clenched around the blanket. They're not giving up, she whispered. The captain crouched down in front of her, his voice steady and calm. No, he said. They're not. She looked into his eyes. Then what happens now? She asked. His reply came like a blade. Now, he said, we end it outside. The hum of the warship grew deeper. The crew spread out through the diner, one checking the front door, another scanning the street. The captain pressed his comm. Vanguard 1. Report. A voice came through, clear and cold. Multiple signals approaching. 12 confirmed hostiles. Heavy weapons, the waitress gasped. 12, she whispered. That's a small army. The captain stood tall. Then they brought the wrong army, he said. The dragon girl stared at him, confused. You're not afraid, she whispered. His gaze was calm. We've faced worse, he said. One of the soldiers chuckled softly. Yeah, he added. This is a warm-up. Their confidence didn't come from arrogance. It came from experience. The girl had never seen people like this before. A faint vibration moved through the floor. Then the sound of footsteps echoed from outside. Slow and deliberate. They weren't hiding this time. They wanted everyone to know they were coming. The leader's voice roared through an amplifier. Terrans, he shouted. You can't hide behind your ship forever. His laughter was thick with rage. This is our world. The captain stepped toward the door, his boots hitting the floor like steady drumbeats. He pressed the panel, and the door opened halfway. A wave of cold night air swept through the diner. He didn't shout back. His silence was louder than any threat. The leader of the clan stood at the end of the street, surrounded by fighters in black armor, their weapons glowing faint red. Their ships hovered at a distance, engines burning. The leader pointed his claw at the diner. Hand her over, he growled, or this place burns. The captain tilted his head. Try, he said softly. The clan leader snarled and raised his hand. A dozen weapons aimed at the diner at once. The waitress screamed and ducked behind the counter. The dragon girl froze in her seat, her heartbeat loud in her ears. She had seen this look before. This was how the clan wiped out anyone who dared to stand against them. But this time, the Terrans were standing in their way. The captain raised his hand slightly, and a beam of light shot down from the warship above. Wrapping the diner in a glowing shield, the first shots hit. Bright flashes lighting the night sky. The building shook, glass rattled, but the shield held. Shields at 75%, a soldier reported calmly. We can hold. The captain didn't blink. Then hold, he replied. The dragon girl flinched with every explosion. You can't keep this up, she whispered. They won't stop. The captain turned toward her. Neither will we, he said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried a weight that silenced her fear for a moment. Outside, the clan leader barked another order. Advance, he roared. His fighters spread out in formation. They thought the humans were trapped, but they had no idea what kind of storm they were walking into. A low, metallic rumble rolled through the ground as panels on the Terran warship opened like the wings of a beast. Inside the diner, the soldiers exchanged sharp nods. The captain gave a single command, "Light them up." The night exploded into chaos. Bright streaks of light ripped through the air as the warship's cannons fired without mercy. The clan fighters didn't even make it halfway before half of them were down. Their shields shattered, their ships spun away like toys. Screams and static filled the air. The leader's snarl turned to panic. "Retreat, fall back," he yelled, but it was too late. The Terran crew moved like shadows. One soldier kicked open a side door. Stepping outside with a precision rifle, another stayed at the back window. Picking off targets one by one, the clan fighters fired wildly. But the humans never missed. Every shot they took counted. The dragon girl watched it all unfold. Her heart pounded, but for the first time. It wasn't out of fear, it was awe. The clan leader tried to run, but the captain was already outside. He moved like a predator, silent, controlled. His hand shot out, grabbing the leader by the collar, slamming him against the side of a burned transport. "This is the last time," the captain said quietly. "You ever touch one of ours?" The leader spat. "You think you've won," he hissed. "We'll come back." The captain leaned in closer. "Then you'll die faster," he replied. His voice was calm, colder than space itself. He let the leader go, letting him fall to the ground like broken glass. The remaining clan fighters dragged him away. Their once proud march now reduced to a desperate retreat. The street fell silent again, smoke rising like black ribbons into the night sky. The Terran crew stepped back inside the diner, lowering their weapons. The waitress peeked out from behind the counter, wide-eyed and shaking. You actually won," she whispered. The captain didn't answer. He just nodded once. The dragon girl walked toward him slowly, her tail dragging across the floor. Her golden eyes shimmered in the soft light. "They've ruled this place for years," she said quietly. "Nobody ever stood against them." He looked down at her. "Someone just had to be first," he said. The warship hovered above, silent and steady. Like a wolf watching over its pack, the people in the diner felt something they hadn't felt in a long time: safety. The dragon girl lifted her chin a little higher. The fear that had wrapped around her like chains was finally breaking. She whispered softly, "They'll remember this night." The captain gave a faint, sharp smile. "Good," he said. "They should." Outside, the clan retreated into the darkness, but their empire had cracked. One girl who had once been alone was now protected by the force that no one dared to challenge. Humanity didn't just fight. Humanity made sure no one forgot, and that night, the stars carried a new story, one of fire, vengeance, and the warning of a name whispered with fear: humanity. The smoke from the battlefield still hung in the air like a heavy blanket. The street outside the diner was a graveyard of twisted metal and burned ships. The neon sign flickered weakly, casting shadows across the broken ground. Inside the diner, no one moved for a moment. The waitress stood frozen behind the counter, eyes wide. The dragon girl sat at a booth with the blanket still wrapped around her, her claws gripping the edge of the table. She had seen the clan rule over everyone with fear for as long as she could remember. But tonight, for the first time, they were the ones who ran. The captain stepped out from the smoke, his dark jacket stained with ash and dust. His crew followed behind him, weapons lowered but still ready. Their boots echoed softly on the cracked pavement. The warship hovered above them, silent and massive, its lights glowing like a warning to anyone watching from afar. One of the soldiers spoke into his comm. "Perimeter clear," he said. All hostiles retreated. The captain didn't look back. His cold blue eyes scanned the horizon. "They'll lick their wounds," he muttered, "but they won't forget." The dragon girl slowly stood up, her legs weak but steady. "They'll come again," she whispered. Her voice was quiet but firm. The captain turned toward her. Yes, he replied. They might. She looked at him with wide golden eyes. Then what happens to me? She asked. His reply came without hesitation. You're not alone anymore. The waitress walked out from behind the counter, still shaking. I don't understand, she whispered. No one stands up to the clan, no one. The captain met her gaze. Then someone needed to start, he said calmly. Outside, the last clan transport disappeared into the black sky. Its engines were silent, but its message was clear. They would remember this night, but they weren't the only ones. The Terran warship moved into a slow orbit, watching, waiting, a steel predator above a quiet battlefield. One of the soldiers approached the captain. Command is requesting an update, he said. They want to know if we're staying or pulling out. The captain glanced back at the dragon girl. She stood with the blanket slipping off her shoulders, her silver scales catching the faint light. She didn't look weak anymore. She looked like someone who had survived. He pressed his comm. Tell command, he said. We're not done here yet. The soldier nodded and walked away. The captain turned back to the girl. You have a choice now, he said softly. She frowned. What do you mean? He stepped closer. We can take you with us, he said. You'd be safe aboard the Vanguard. We protect our own. She stared at the floor. Or, he continued, you can stay, and we'll make sure no one touches this place again. The words hit her like a wave. For so long she had lived with no choices, running from one shadow to another. Now she had two paths standing right in front of her. She lifted her eyes slowly. Why? She whispered. Why would you help me? The captain didn't smile. He didn't have to. Because family isn't about where you were born, he said. It's about who stands with you when no one else does. A distant rumble rolled through the ground. Faint but real, one of the soldiers frowned and checked his scanner. Captain, he called. We're picking up more signals. The captain stiffened. Clan reinforcements, he muttered. Faster than expected. The waitress's face turned pale. No, she whispered. Not again. The dragon girl felt her claws tighten. Not in fear this time, but something else. Outside. Lights flickered in the distance like stars crawling closer. Dozens of new signatures appeared on the scanners, larger ships this time. The clan wasn't retreating. They were coming back with everything they had. The captain walked toward the door, the calm in his steps sharper than any weapon. How many? He asked. 20 ships, the soldier answered. Heavy cruisers. The dragon girl's breath caught in her throat. That's their fleet, she whispered. That's everyone. The captain didn't flinch. Good, he said quietly. Then we won't have to go looking for them later. His crew moved fast. Their calm precision returned, as if they had expected this all along. The waitress grabbed the edge of the counter. You're not seriously going to fight them, she said in shock. He gave her a steady look. We don't start fights, he said, but we finish them. The night sky above the diner darkened as the clan fleet arrived. Their ships filled the air like a swarm of hornets. The leader's voice boomed through the comm channel, loud and full of fury. Terrans, he shouted. You've made a mistake you'll regret for centuries. The captain tapped the comm on his wrist. His voice came through calm, clear and sharp. You already made yours. The warship overhead powered up. Its engines roared through the darkness like thunder. Cannons glowed red-hot, targeting systems locking onto every enemy ship. A moment later, the first blast ripped through the sky. The clan fleet scattered, but it was too late. The humans had already drawn their line. Inside the diner, the dragon girl stood frozen, watching through the window as the war lit up the night. The Terran warship moved like a predator, cutting through enemy formations with silent precision. Enemy ships exploded one after another, fiery blooms against the endless black. The waitress fell to her knees, whispering, They're destroying them. But the captain wasn't watching the battle. He was watching the girl. Her fear was still there, but now it was mixed with something stronger. Do you see? He said softly. They can't take what belongs to us. She turned to look at him. I'm not theirs anymore, she whispered. He nodded. No, he said, you never were. Outside. The battle reached its peak. Three of the clan's largest ships tried to flank the warship, but the Terran crew anticipated every move. A single precision strike from orbit shattered their formation. Panic spread through the enemy ranks. Their leader's voice cracked through the comm. "Fall back," he shouted. "Fall back now." The moment the clan ships fled, the night fell quiet again. Only the hum of the Terran warship filling the air. The captain lowered his comm and exhaled slowly. "Status," he said. "All enemy ships disengaged," the soldier reported. "They won't try again." The dragon girl stepped outside the diner. The cold air brushed against her silver scales. She looked up at the massive warship that had shielded her from everything she had feared. A single tear slid down her cheek, not from pain, but from something far heavier, freedom. She turned to the captain. "I want to go with you," she said. Her voice was steady this time, not small, not afraid. The captain gave a single nod. "Then you'll never be alone again," he said. His crew moved to escort her toward the landing zone. The waitress stepped forward and grabbed her hand. "Thank you," she whispered. The girl smiled softly. "For the first time, I can breathe." The warship lowered its ramp, bright lights spilling across the cracked pavement as she stepped onto it. The shadows that had followed her for years finally stayed behind. The captain walked beside her, hands in his pockets, calm as ever. "You've got a new home now," he said quietly. She looked at the ship, at the stars above, and whispered, "I know." The ramp lifted, engines roared, and the warship rose into the sky, leaving the diner small beneath the endless stars. Down below, whispers would spread through the sector about what happened that night. The clan had power, but humanity had something stronger. And from that night on, no one would forget the warning carried through every trade route. If you hurt one of theirs, humanity comes. And when humanity comes, they don't ask twice, they end it.